What's up, everyone? My name is Tyler DeLuca, and today I'm ready to start a conversation about the National Player of the Year Award. This is a crazy year for the National Player of the Year Award because there's genuinely 7, 8 players that you could probably make some type of case for when it comes to being the National Player of the Year. I have 6 here today that I feel like I can comfortably make a case for being that National Player of the Year. Now, they're varying in the sense of how likely I think they are to happen, but I have 6 that I can make a case for. Let's dive right in. First off, let's start with Stanford's Cam Brink. Now, Cameron Brink, no one seems more likely to make an immediate impact in the WNBA than Cameron Brink from this draft class. Yes, this class is absolutely stacked, but when it comes to making day one impact, I don't think anyone is coming close to Cam Brink, and that is because of the impact she's already making at Stanford. You can just tell there's a different energy on the court when Cameron Brink is on there. It makes life incredibly difficult for the opposing team, both on the offense and defensive sides of the ball. She is the true definition of a two-way player. Some of the stats so far this year are incredible, frankly. 17 points, 11 boards, and 3 blocks. And like I said, you can just feel the difference when Cameron Brink is not in the game. And frankly, that's been her downfall. Yes, she's putting up incredible stats, but she's doing it in about 23 minutes per game. And a lot of that has to do with the fear of foul trouble for Brink. When she's on the court, she has an argument to be the best player in the entire nation. The stats prove that, the eye test proves that, but it's about staying on the court for Cameron Brink. The team success is there, the two-way play is there, but when she can't be on the court the majority, not the majority of the game, but when there's moments where you have to sit her, that tanks your case. It does a little bit, but man, when it comes to making an impact on the game, I don't know if there's a better player in the country than Cameron Brink when it comes just to pure impact and changing the way that the game is played on the court when she's on there. Next up, I want to talk about probably my favorite player in the nation this year, Utah's Alissa Pili. It's almost hard to put into words to talk about Pili, because Pili is like 2 or 3 players built into one. There's not a player comp for Pili. There's not. She is a completely different player depending on where she's operating on the floor on the offensive side of the ball. If she's on the perimeter, she's one player. If she's in the post, she's another player. Regardless, the footwork is immaculate. No matter where she is on the court, the footwork is footworking. And her playmaking is also another really underrated part of her skill set. Some of the passes that she makes and her vision on the court, especially now that with Gianna Neepkins dropping due to injury earlier in the season, the focus is all on her. And you can tell that. And the playmaking that she has, even with double teams and all the focus being on her, it's immaculate. The playmaking is immaculate that she shows. And it's interesting to me watching Utah because they look like 2 different teams whenever Pili's on the floor versus off it. That's how you can get a sense for the impact that she brings to this team. Now, going on about being off the floor, that's kind of similar to Brink, where some of Pili's problems lie. She is susceptible to foul trouble at times, and you can't impact the court if you're not on the court. And that is something that Pili and Brink alike struggle with. Now, they're also alike in a bunch of really good things, like player efficiency rating, win shares, and just the eye test of players being really, really good and really, really flexible about where they can play on the court. Both Pili and Brink have very similar arguments in my eyes to doing that. I think that Brink has more of the two-way play on the defensive side of the ball, but Pili is absolutely a gem on the offensive side of the ball and isn't no slouch on the defensive side of the ball either. She is one of the most unique players I've ever seen and absolutely has a case to be the National Player of the Year, even though some of these recent losses have kind of lessened the steam for that case. But the talent and the production, it's all there. I can't believe we've really come to this point with UConn's Paige Bueckers, where I feel like she is almost underappreciated. She came in with so much hype in her freshman year, and obviously injuries have caused issues when it comes to keeping that momentum going. But this year has been a year of genuine improvement. I think that the leaps that she has taken this year have been almost severely underappreciated at this point. She's now averaging a block per game. That defense was not there her freshman year. That was not part of her repertoire. A block per game, including a 5-block game and a 4-block game against Louisville and North Carolina, respectively. That defense and the effort that she's shown in there, she's genuinely turning into a two-way player right before our eyes this season. She's been really, really good. Really, really good. And I feel like she hasn't gotten the love that she deserves for those defensive improvements. Like I said, it feels almost crazy to see like Paige isn't getting enough hype, but I think that's where we're at. I really, really do. I don't think that she's getting the love she deserves. Now, obviously, she's always been a formidable, more than formidable option on the offensive end. But when this season began, I didn't like what UConn was doing on offense. I think it wasn't helping Paige by basically giving her the ball and watching. That's what UConn's offense was. And even Gino said that. It wasn't until around after the Texas game that a shift started to happen where it started becoming more of a team game and supporting Paige and figuring out how to best support her. And I think that UConn is starting to strike that balance a little bit more, and it's been huge for Paige's play so far since that Texas game. It's been huge. For example, in the first 10 games of this season, Paige was averaging 2.8 assists per game. Now, from Big East play on, pretty much the last 7 games or so, she's now up to 5.1 assists. That's a huge difference. And it just comes down to the style that they're playing in. And the scoring hasn't gone anywhere either. And she's doing it incredibly efficiently. She's averaging 19 points on 54% from the field and 49% from 3. The offense is starting to really get rolling in that way that feels a little more comfortable in. And I think is better for UConn's success. She's doing it efficiently. The assists are up. And now the defense is really, really checking in. She has clocked in on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that Paige Bueckers this season has now become underappreciated. But with UConn's success back on the rise, I think more people are going to get eyes on the fact that the defender that she's become is a very, very solid one. And that this UConn team isn't the same team that lost those games early on this season. Let's go from one powerhouse program to another. Notre Dame's Hannah Hidalgo. H2O. Hannah two-way Hidalgo. She's unreal, y'all. We're talking video game numbers here with some of the stuff that she's doing. It is incredible. 24 points per game, which is good for a third in the nation. 6.9 rebounds, 5.5 assists. That's enough to make a case right there. That's enough right there to make a case. She's hooping. And this is not a typo. She's averaging 5.7 steals per game. Take that in. Digest that. 5.7 steals per game. That ain't normal, y'all. That ain't normal. That ain't normal at all. Let's put this in a little bit of context for you. Everyone knows Skylar Diggins-Smith, one of the greatest guards, to play the game. A huge legacy at Notre Dame. She held the record at Notre Dame for most games with at least 6 steals over the course of her career. She had that at 8 games with at least 6 steals in her career. Hannah Hidalgo tied that record in 15 games. That ain't normal, y'all. That is not normal. But it is for Hannah Hidalgo. So the offensive side of the ball is also very, very solid. 49% from the field, 37% from 3. That ain't too shabby. That ain't too bad at all, y'all. And the context as well. Notre Dame has been plagued by injuries. None more than Olivia Miles, who Hannah Hidalgo has come in and stepped in for when it comes to the production that Notre Dame needs to stay afloat. Hannah Hidalgo has come in and more than sufficed as that player. Now, obviously, they've had more injuries than Olivia. And they've slipped up a couple times in the loss column. So, I guess the question is, and my only answer I have is that team success. The question I leave you with is, why not Hannah Hidalgo? At a huge program, a two-way, insane, a historic two-way player, it's just the team success isn't all the way there. And you can factor injuries into that. Why not Hannah Hidalgo for National Player of the Year? Well, you knew this name was coming. Iowa's Caitlin Clark. What else is there to say? She is probably the most electric player I have personally laid eyes on. It's unreal, the stuff that she does on the offensive side of the ball. It is genuinely unreal. I mean, leads the nation with 30.9 points per game. Second in the nation in assists with 7.9 assists. That speaks for itself, right? And that's incredible. And I understand what turns people off from Caitlin's game. Obviously, she has the second highest usage in the nation. And she's shooting 22 shots a game on 48% shooting. 12 shots from deep on 40% shooting. I get it. But also, that's not her fault. The playmaking is there. I've also been frustrated watching it. There's been times where I'm like, I feel like they're not using her playmaking to its highest degree. But when she's doing what she's doing, she leads the nation in offensive win shares. She's absolutely a machine on the offensive side of the ball. And Iowa is ready to live and die by that. And right now, they're the number 2 team in the nation. They're living real good right now on Caitlin Clark's offensive capabilities. Now, when it comes to her case for National Player of the Year, where I have my hesitancy is that she's not incredibly active on the defensive side of the ball. I think she's improved on that, and I think that her energy on that side of the ball has been better this year, but ultimately, in comparison to some of these other players, like a Cameron Brink, like a Hannah Hidalgo, she isn't the two-way player that some of these other players are. Now, she absolutely has a team success, and there's no question she's got the offensive side. And realistically, you kind of have to have a storyline backing you, making a push for National Player of the Year. And when you have something like the NCAA scoring record on the horizon, that's a heck of a push to become National Player of the Year. So obviously, Caitlin Clark has an argument to be National Player of the Year. When you're doing stuff the way that she's doing it, obviously. But I think, for me, the two-way play is what makes me have one other person firmly above her in this conversation. That player is USC's JuJu Watkins. I'm ready to crown her. I know she's a freshman. I don't care. Her usage rate is the highest in the nation. I don't care. I don't. JuJu Watkins, I'm ready to crown her. She is incredible. The only way I've been able to really articulate what I've been seeing from JuJu, it's like she's been here before. It's like she's one of the GOATs reincarnated, y'all. The poise, the confidence, the pace of her play, of not being sped up by the college game in that transition. From day one, she's had that poise. It's been incredible to see. Yes, she's gonna make mistakes, both because of the usage rate and because she's a freshman. It's bound to happen, but she's active. You could tell she's like actively taking in that information about her mistakes and applying them and changing them, even within the same game, not just game to game, within the same game. The jumper is nasty. Her ability to drive is nasty. Y'all, JuJu Watkins is the real deal. There's nothing she can't do. Let's dive into the numbers just a little bit. 26.5 points per game, right? That's good for second in the nation. Admittedly, it's not the most efficient 26.5. It's not. She's averaging 44% from the field and 39% from three. It's not the most efficient. I get it. However, what puts her over the top for me at the moment of recording this is the fact that she plays defense. She not just plays defense, she is an active factor on defense. Right now, she's averaging 2.5 steals and nearly 2 blocks per game. In that game against UCLA at USC, revenge rivalry game, she was locked in on defense while also putting up the insane amount of points that she'll put up. She's incredible, y'all. Two-way player, has the backing of a storyline, being the freshman phenom that she is, and she has team success. Those three factors are what make a National Player of the Year to me, and nobody is doing it quite like JuJu Watkins when it comes to filling up all of those factors. I know it can be early to crown a player. I get it. I don't care. JuJu Watkins is one of one, and right now is number one in the National Player of the Year race for me at this moment in time. Listen, y'all, I am very strongly in favor of JuJu Watkins right now at this moment, but there is a very long ways to go when it comes to deciding who is going to be the National Player of the Year. I'm staying open-minded. I'm going to keep watching the games, but I want to hear from you. What makes a National Player of the Year in your eyes, and who is making the best case right now?